So this is probably the most requested video for DMChamp, and that's how to get clients. So I posted this 2 days ago in the School community, and I asked what videos would you like to see, and one of the options was selling it. And if you go through these comments, you can see one is constantly being repeated. One here, 361. We've already covered 6 yesterday. So I also just received an email from one of our circle members. Actually a successful circle member that's already landed some clients with DMChamp. So basically what they're saying is when they meet clients at exhibitions, it's pretty easy for them to book a meeting and close them. And they have a opening message that's been working well for them. The challenge, however, that they're facing is generating appointments with prospects they find online, either through the DMChamp lead finder or any third-party lead database. So they also have a specific niche, and they have already closed one client in each of these, in each of the niches. That's a big plus. So in this video, I want to go over how I actually initially got my first clients. And I do want to say that I won't be sharing exact templates or recipes or a golden strategy that's guaranteed to work, because the reality is you're going to have to find out yourself what works. What worked for me, it wasn't something that was just out there. I had to figure out on my own, and it fully depends on what your niche is, what time it is, like literally what time like what's the right word for this? Like now we live in the age of AI. 5 years ago things were completely different. 1, 2, 3 years from now things will be completely different. So keep that in mind. But I'm sure with what I'll share today, I could almost guarantee you're going to book at least meetings, because that's really the first step, right? Booking the meeting, and then what you do in the meeting to close the client, that's something for another day. But me personally, when I was setting DMChamp or agency servers directly, I had probably around pretty high close range for the meetings. So I think somewhere between a third to 50%. So keep that as a benchmark. And of course, it depends on what your offer is. If you have something super high ticket, it might be lower, or depending on which type of leads you actually let book with you. If they're already super qualified, of course, your close rate will be higher. So what worked really well for me is actually cold emailing. And the tool I use for that is this one over here called Instantly. Now they've completely rebranded and they're doing all kinds of stuff. But back when I started using this in 2023, which is 3 years ago now, they were fully focused on just volume, sending mass amounts of cold email. And this was before AI was a thing, right? So after ChatGPT came on the market, things changed a lot. Also quickly want to show you my agency, because the website is still up. It's smb360.ai. You can see it's already, it was a go high level white label back then, and you can already see how this turned into DMChamp. I found the gap in the market with WhatsApp and AI, and you can even see some of the clients we had. So we still got this one, and there's some others. What was important for me is the first client I got really for this agency, this one, is someone I know in real life. And this just getting that one result, one case study, has helped me get all of those other clients. So if you don't have that, it's going to be extra hard. And the solution for that would be, well, see if there is somewhere in your local network that you can create a case study for, and if that isn't, just make one up yourself, really. Not like make something fake up, but actually see if you can launch a successful campaign in like whatever way. concretely, maybe if you're doing agency services and like you're building out landing pages, maybe like build out a directory or whatever, or a for example, if you take Hack Transplant as an example, right? So if this is your client, what you could do is you could build a website that ranks, let's say, the top 10 best hair clinics, and you can start ranking on Google through SEO, which in the future you'll be able to do with the SEO agent that we're working on, that will get you ranking. But what you can do is you're going to start ranking there. That's going to start ranking in Claude, ChatGPT, also in Google, of course, and people will start landing on your website, and they're going to fill in your content first and do inquiries. And well, you see where I'm going, right? You're the one that's getting leads now, and instead of having them fill in a contact form, you could have them start a conversation with your DMChamp agent, and then from there you contact XYZ clinic and tell them, hey, look, I got a lead for you, and you can pass it on for free initially. You can charge for that lead, of course. Don't charge crazy amounts. You need to know how much a client is worth for them. For example, if it's a hair salon where a client might be worth 100, you can't charge 50 euros for a lead, right? You might be able to get away with 5 euros, for example, and then later you can just switch to a flat fee, because that's just simpler for everyone. Even though with pay performance you'd probably be making more. So that's one example on how you can get your case studies if you don't have any. And these case studies are super important for getting more clients. So that's a bit of background on my agency, and how you can create your case studies and why they're important. Now back to Instantly. So what is Instantly? It's a cold emailing platform at its core. Don't look at all these other fancy tools they've added, such as Copilot and like automating stuff or AI workflows, because I've tried them here and they're all great, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to volume. And let me show you what I mean. Volume and in relation to what the return on investment is, because that's something people forget. Of course, if you're going to send out 1 million emails, of course you're going to get clients, but what did it cost you? If it cost you like 10,000 US dollars, and you just got one client, how are you going to earn that back? So let's head to pricing of Instantly, and let's just switch to monthly. This plan is basically useless. 1,000 and 5,000, that's nothing. You probably at least need this one. So 25,000 contacts you'll be able to reach out to. Let's see if we can note that down in a sheet. And what I'll just use Claude, because that's the age we live in. All right, here we are in Claude. So I'll tell Claude what I need. I'm trying to calculate the return on investment of a cold emailing tool. Can you help me out? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see if we can calculate the return on investment, because sometimes people don't understand the amount of volume you need to send out. So back when I was running my agency in this over here, I had to reach out to 5,000 clinics all over the world, but mostly in the United States. The conversion rates there are just much higher. A second place was probably United Kingdom. Even though I'm from Netherlands, here the conversion rates are just way lower. But besides that, the market is just a lot smaller as well. Whereas you could find maybe 2,000 clinics in the United States, if not more, here in the Netherlands, which the country's like 10 times smaller, so you probably only find like a handful. So I had to reach out to 5,000 clinics to book about 50 meetings, Zoom meetings, and about 50 of those are probably closed, like 20, maybe slightly less. So let's go back to Claude and see. And let's see what it says. So first of all, I want you to use this benchmark, right? So in 2023, I had this benchmark where for 5,000 contacts, I would get about 50 meetings. And of those 50 meetings, I'd probably get, let's say, 15 clients. What's the conversion here? Can you quickly calculate that first? Since this isn't something complicated, I'll just switch this to Sonnet so we can get a response quicker. All right, so contact to meeting is about 1%, right? Meeting to client, that's 30%, that's good. So you can see 0.3% of those contacts got converted into clients. But here's the thing, this was before AI and before cold emailing blew up like crazy. Because these results were actually really good, and unfortunately they've gotten a lot harder. I don't know the exact number, but I've seen people that do cold emailing as a service share the same thoughts, that the results are just getting less and less and less. So let's add some context to Claude. Now take into account that it's 2026, and due to all kinds of changes in like even Google's algorithms with AI and just the sheer amount of volumes that are being sent out, these results have become impossible. Could you maybe like estimate how much harder it is now, and come with actual numbers? Actually, I'm switching back to Opus because asking some more difficult questions now. I was going to find some benchmarks. All right. So saying reply rate is roughly halved. Jump of email never rise at all. The numbers. All right, so it's basically cutting it to a third. So let's assume this, right? Let's see, which one is it using? All right, forget all of that. Based on a well-run system now, how many contacts do you need for one client, and like how many bookings? Also, just to throw this in there, reply rates don't really matter because actually not reply rates, open rates don't matter because you actually want the reply. So if you're using a tool like Instantly, turn open rates off, because a lot of times it's not even accurate. It's very bad at tracking those open rates, and it actually reduces your deliverability. So there's a less chance of you ending up in their mailbox. So turn that off. That's just a quick tip. So here we see. So Claude saying you need about 1,000 contacts to get 4 meetings booked, and that will get you 1 client booked. I think this is like kind of a best case scenario, because in reality it's going to be a lot more difficult. I actually shared it with Claude, see what he says. I think that's very optimistic. I think you probably need a lot more contacts to even book the meetings. Oh, we can see there's a transcription error. Alright, so we've landed at 2,500. So let's use this for a moment now, yeah? Now we're going to go to the math of things. So we know we need to reach out to 2,500 contacts to book roughly 6 to 5 meetings to land one client, right? Keep in mind this: just you follow up with these contacts multiple times. So you send the first message, then like in a day or two you send a bump, and then you send a third message. And depending on whatever method you're following, you can keep following up or not. I think the best method would be to just send 3 emails, then just pause the list, reach out again in like a month or two. Actually, like 2 to 3 months. Actually, not a month, not 1 month, because that's too early. They will have forgotten about you, and you can reach out to them again. This is actually a very good tip that I'm giving you right now, because nobody actually tells you what you're supposed to do if you've reached out to literally every single, let's say, clinic out there. This is a problem I ran into. I had reached out to everyone that was out there, and I had no idea what to do next. But what you're supposed to do is you just wait a few months until people forget about you and just reach out again, and that's how you can reuse your list and actually save a lot of money, because these leads aren't free. So now, return on investment. So, all right, let's calculate the return on investment now. So we're going to use Instantly, which is $100 per month for their hyper growth plan. This gives us 25,000 contacts, which is more than enough. Gives us more than 100,000 emails per month, which is more than enough. But that's the cheap part. The expensive part is the email infrastructure, which they haven't really made obvious here. So, what's the latest price for Google Workspace mailboxes? I did a quick Google check. It seemed to be like between $5 and $10. So let's take that into account. Let's say, can you calculate first how many mailboxes we would need to reach out to 25,000 contacts within 1 month, assuming you can only send 20 emails per day per mailbox. Also calculate the domain. Limit to 3 mailboxes per domain. And then of course we have the 2-week warm-up. So while this is thinking, a best practice is to not send more than 20 emails per day per mailbox. You use the so-called burner domains. So you don't use your main domain, because what we're doing here, it's a bit of a gray area. If these mailboxes can flag you and block your email or block your entire domain, you don't want that. So you use variations of your main domain. For example, instead of DMChamp, you use getdmchamp.com or trydmchamp.com. And then per domain, you do about 3 mailboxes. These are like best practices. Of course, you can increase the mailboxes, but with that, you increase your risk. Same with increasing the amount of emails you send per day. You're going to be increasing your risk of getting flagged. So let's see what it says here. So here's expensive math. Let's. So we're trying to calculate how much it would cost to get 1 client per month. So yeah, this is another thing. First touch only versus a full 4-stop sequence. You definitely need a full stop sequence. So for that, you would need 24 mailboxes and 8 domains. And you can already see the costs here. It's also included estimated contact data. You can see where the problem starts. So the problem isn't that cold emailing doesn't work. It's that it's come to a point where you can get those clients, but it's going to be expensive, and that doesn't mean it's not worth it, because if you deliver a good service, you're going to build more use cases, case studies, and of course your conversion rate down the road is going to increase. But also, if you keep that client, it's going to stack on top of each other. Let's say you charge let's say you charge it less than what it costs you, right? Let's say you charge $200 per month. So for the first month, for the first 2 months, you will be at a loss. Or actually, for the first month, you'll be at the loss. You'll be at like minus 300. And the second month, you got 2 clients now. So now you're at minus 100. At the third month, you're now at plus 100. That's when you're going to start making money. So that's the important thing called email math that, I never saw out that when I started doing cold emailing, and these were things I had to figure out on my own. And what to put in these emails, that's also just, you just gotta experiment, really, see what gets you reply rates, what gets you positive reply rates, not just people telling you to shut up. So that's cold emailing. With like Instantly, it's expensive, but this is just to give you an idea. There's probably cheaper tools out there. The DMChamp SDR pilot that's coming out will be offering some of this at a much better, more competitive rate, and then you're going to be more profitable way sooner, and you're going to book a lot more meetings and just be more profitable quicker. So that's cold emailing. This is what got DMChamp its first 3 clients, and also not just DMChamp, also when I did my agency, where I just offered funnels and meta ads. Instantly is what got me those clients. This video I'll just keep at cold emailing. I'll see if let me know which other methods you would like me to go deep into, because another big one, of course, is meta ads, and I do have just a little bit of experience with meta ads. So so this is the meta account of this client. You can see here we're spending real big bucks. So if you thought Instantly was expensive with $500 US per month, this ad account is spending 200, 3, 4, 5. This ad account is spending like a grand a day in Facebook ads. But of course, you can see it generates serious conversion. 100, 300,000 here, 200,000, 200,000, 500,000. It's already $1 million. So this is a whole beast in itself that requires multiple other videos. There's no time to dive into this now, and I also do not recommend this because this is probably one of the hardest to get right, but at the same time it's also a lot more expensive, and it also puts you further from the client. Like with cold emailing, you get a response back, you know what's going on, and you can iterate quicker. So let me know what you would like to see next. Take care, fam.